It has been 18 seasons since a team has won back-to-back Super Bowls. Can the Los Angeles Rams finally break that trend? Tune in to find out. What is going on, everyone? It is Connor, the co-host with the most, back with another 2022 Clutch Crew Sports NFL team preview, this time looking at the Los Angeles Rams. Now, we are down to the final 10 NFL team previews. We just recently had the Panthers that released on Saturday, and we had the Denver Broncos that released on Sunday. So with the Rams, we are down to the final 10. If you have missed any of the previews so far, make sure you go back and watch them. It's possible we've probably already done your team, and we're really excited to get down to these final 10 and get the last 10 previews pumped out for you guys before week 1 of the season starts. But with that being said, let's get right into it with the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. Now, first things first with the Rams, gotta talk about Matthew Stafford, Super Bowl MVP. Him and Sean McVay have developed some really good chemistry with this team. They've been able to, in year 1 under Matthew Stafford, there was a lot of people that were skeptical of Matthew Stafford going to the Rams. It was kind of like people were 50-50. Like, there was the 50% that were saying that he, was an all-pro, great quarterback, but was just stuck on a horrible Detroit Lions team. And then there was the other half that was saying he's really overrated, he had some weapons in Detroit. He never could get it done, and he's just going to be a bust. I was on the 50% side that I thought he was really good and that he was going to make a huge difference for this Rams team. So I was definitely right about that. Stafford, he really helped turn this Rams team into a real Super Bowl contender. It was kind of a team that everyone thought it was like this team is a quarterback away. We see that quite a bit in the league with some of these teams. It's like, okay, they have a really good team. If they could just get a quarterback, they could be contenders. Like, I would argue the Steelers are one of those teams right now in the league, like a really good team that doesn't really have a quarterback. The Rams, in my mind, were one of those teams. Like, they're a quarterback away from a Super Bowl. Jared Goff was not the guy to get it done, and so they bring in Matthew Stafford, and lo and behold, Super Bowl title for the Los Angeles Rams. So, for me, it's definitely going to be interesting to watch to see how he does in year 2 under this system. He definitely had his struggles in year 1. A lot of people were coming in thinking he was going to be like an MVP candidate and all this stuff. And, for the first few weeks, he kind of did look like an MVP candidate. But it's like the mistakes started to pile up. Like, he was making some bad throws, some bad interceptions. And it seemed like this was kind of like on a week-to-week basis. Like, the Rams, they were still winning. But, it made you really kind of question, like, okay, how are they going to do in the playoffs if Stafford's going to keep playing like this? It's like he's not playing bad per se, but he's not playing to the level that, we all think he should be able to play. Thankfully, for the Rams' sake, he turned it up in the playoffs. He was fantastic in the playoffs. He led a couple game-winning drives, one against the Bucs, one against the Bengals in the Super Bowl, on their way to a Super Bowl championship. But I think Stafford's only going to continue to improve, honestly. I mean, he has a full year under his belt under the Sean McVay system. He's had time to get used to everything, living in LA. It's a big change from going from Detroit to LA. And I think he's going to be better in year 2. Like, I honestly think he could be a potential MVP candidate this year. Like I said, a lot of people thought he was going to be last year, and he wasn't really. But I definitely think Stafford has the potential to be MVP level player. And also, I think it's going to be important for him that Cam Akers is going to be coming back from injury, because Akers, he looked really good in the playoffs when he was back from injury. There was a lot of questions. There's always a lot of questions with running backs, like how good are they going to be when they come back from injury? I definitely think Akers coming back from injury is really going to help take the pressure off of Stafford, because that is one reason why I think he didn't play as well as he could have, because the Rams, they really didn't have a running game all year. They had Henderson, and they had, I can't remember who the other guy they had was, but their run game was really subpar, and Stafford was having to throw the ball a lot, and that, inevitably will lead to more turnovers and more mistakes. So getting Cam Akers back and fully healthy for a whole year, I think Stafford's going to put up some really good numbers because of that, because he's not going to have to throw the ball every time, and teams are not going to be able to just game plan for the pass against the Rams. So I'm expecting big things out of Matthew Stafford in year 2. So now the other thing for the Los Angeles Rams for the current, they've had a lot of offseason moves happen here. I know on his previews, Eric always likes to talk about the key additions and key departures. So I'm kind of having this as like out with the old, in with the new. They lost Darius Williams to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They lost Von Miller, one of their Super Bowl heroes, to the Buffalo Bills. And while Odell has not signed with a team yet, no one really knows what's going to happen with him. Like, I keep hearing all these rumors, like, oh, he'll go, like he's going to go back to the Rams, or oh, he's going to go to the Browns because the Browns are having problems, or there was even some rumors that Odell was going to go to Buffalo, like Von Miller was trying to recruit him. So who knows with Odell? But to replace Odell, they did bring in Allen Robinson from Chicago. I think that's a really good replacement for Odell. Allen Robinson had one of his worst years of his career last year, but I think that was definitely more of a product of Chicago than it was Allen Robinson, because Robinson, he had a few really good seasons in Chicago on a team that's really not that good, and, with very subpar quarterback play. So I definitely think Allen Robinson is going to benefit from being in LA, and he's definitely going to be a really nice compliment alongside Cooper Kupp. The Rams also did lose Robert Woods. I didn't mention that, but, they won the Super Bowl pretty much without him last year. So, I don't think it's as big of a loss per se. But I definitely think Allen Robinson is going to fill that really needed wide receiver 2 role on the Rams, because Odell really started to do that towards the latter half of the season, and the Rams were a different team because of it. Cooper Kupp wasn't able to get double-teamed every play because they had to account for Odell as well. And that's going to be the case with Allen Robinson in my mind. They're not going to be able to double Cooper Kupp, because if they do, then I think Allen Robinson is going to shred opposing defenses. Like, I do think he's still a really good receiver, and I think his performance last year was just more a case of the Bears. Like, Justin Fields was a rookie and, didn't perform great, but also the Bears didn't have an offensive line, so it's not like Justin Fields had time to get him the ball on a consistent basis. So definitely a much-needed change of scenery for Robinson, and definitely one for the better. So then the other guy they brought in to replace a few of the lost pieces was Bobby Wagner from Seattle. He's, a future Hall of Fame linebacker. He's, one of the best middle linebackers the game has seen in the last decade. And I definitely think it's going to be a really good addition for the Rams. They had some struggles with their run defense last season, and I definitely think Bobby Wagner is going to be a really good piece to help keep improving that defense. Losing Von Miller is hard, but they do still have Leonard Floyd. They do obviously still, of course, have Aaron Donald, who's the best defensive player in the league right now. And, Bobby Wagner, I think, definitely fills a bigger hole. Like, I don't think pass rushing was as big of a hole as, the middle of the field in their run defense. And Bobby Wagner really fills that in for them. So, in my mind, I think losing Von Miller and bringing in Bobby Wagner, I think that was a plus for them, in my mind. Losing Darius Williams, of course, does hurt. The Rams do still have Jalen Ramsey, but, he can really be kind of spotty sometimes. A lot of people consider him to be the best corner in the league. I'm not sure I would consider him the best corner in the league, but, he's obviously top 10, no doubt. But he can be leaky at times, and having Darius Williams on the other side was very good. So that's definitely a big loss for them. But I think Bobby Wagner and Allen Robinson are definitely huge additions to this team, and overall in the offseason, I think they got better, which is scary, for the team that just won the Super Bowl to think that they got better. But I think they got better, and who knows, they could still end up bringing back Odell too, which then it becomes kind of a crowded wide receiver room with Kupp, Robinson, and Van Jefferson if you throw Odell in too. But who knows what's going to happen there. So moving on to the last topic, the Super Bowl hangover. I got to do the preview for the Cincinnati Bengals, so I got to talk about that with them as well. But the Super Bowl hangover for the Rams. Now, I mentioned at the top of the video that it's been 18 seasons since the team has won back-to-back Super Bowls, and, I've got the graphic down here. That team being the New England Patriots, they beat the Carolina Panthers in Super Bowl 38, and then went on and beat the Eagles in Super Bowl 39. And so, yeah, that was the last time a team has won back-to-back Super Bowls. The last time before that was in the 90s when the Buffalo Bills, not the Buffalo, well, they were involved, but the Dallas Cowboys were beating the Buffalo Bills in back-to-back Super Bowls in the 90s. My dad remembers that very well, unfortunately. So it's not something that you see terribly often. It's something that really in the modern era is not a common thing. It did happen like a decent amount back in the day. You know, there was the Steelers that won back-to-back twice. The Dolphins won back-to-back Super Bowls. The Packers won back-to-back. But really in the modern era, it's not a common thing. You know, the level of competition in the NFL is at an all-time high right now, and it's just not easy for a team to get back to the Super Bowl, and let alone get back, but win the Super Bowl. You know, it's not happened very often, so to say the least. The Patriots seemed like they were the only exception to that rule. Like, you know, they could still get back and then, you know, possibly win and whatnot, but everyone else seems to struggle with it. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they do. In my mind, I think they have the pieces to do it again. I mean, in reality, I think their only real competition in the NFC right now is the Bucks. You know, their division is obviously tough. Like, the Niners are good. If Trey Lance plays somewhat decently, then the Niners are going to be a threat. The Cardinals, I don't think, are as big of a threat. You know, I still think they're a good team, but I don't think they're that huge of a threat. I don't think they're a bigger threat than the Niners. But even then, like, I don't see the Niners being a potential NFC Championship contender with their quarterback situation. And then the Packers, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is obviously great, two-time reigning MVP, but, you know, losing Devontae Adams on that offense really hurts, and I think the Packers have a bit more question marks going into this season than usual. And, you know, the NFC East is the NFC East, so while the Eagles and Cowboys are playoff contenders, I don't see them as NFC Championship contenders. So really, in my mind, it's going to be the same story as last year, you know, going into the season. I think it's between the Bucks and the Rams for the NFC crown. I almost said the NFC South crown. It's between the Bucks and the Rams for the NFC Championship in my mind. So I definitely think the Rams have the tools to get back to the Super Bowl. Winning the Super Bowl is going to be another thing, just because, I mean, who knows who they're going to have to face out of the AFC. The AFC is just so stacked right now. It could be the Bills, it could be the Chargers, it could be the Chiefs, it could be, you know, the Bengals again, it could be the Ravens, it could be the Dolphins if they get their things together, it could be the Colts, like, it could be the Raiders, who knows. The AFC is just totally stacked, so it's really hard to, you know, pick out what they can do, but I definitely could see them winning it again. I definitely think they could. Do I think they will? No. I think they'll get back. You know, we're going to make our official Super Bowl and season predictions in a later episode of Clutch Crew Sports, but spoiler alert for my picks, I think the Rams are going to make it back, but I don't think they're going to win. So I think the streak of teams not winning back-to-back Super Bowls are going to continue. But moving on to their schedule here, obviously they have a tough draw that they have to play, you know, within their own division. They also have to play the NFC or the AFC West, which is another tough draw. You know, all four of those teams are really good, and it's really intriguing. You know, probably the most intriguing matchup on their schedule is going to be the Week 1 matchup against the Buffalo Bills. Like, that is going to be a potential Super Bowl preview right there in my mind. You know, two teams that are at the top of their conference. You know, Week 1. It's going to be interesting because, of course, Week 1 is not necessarily, you know, when you see the best out of teams. So seeing the Bills and Rams go head-on Week 1, you know, if they end up in the Super Bowl later, you know, you're going to look back on that, but it might not be a terribly good indication of what, you know, how good each team is. So I'm really excited for that matchup. It's going to be a great opening matchup. Like, no better way to start the season than Bills and Rams. Like, you know, good job NFL schedule for coming up with that one. But then the rest of their schedule, you know, they get to play against the NFC South, which, you know, is filled with a few weaker teams, the Panthers, the Falcons. You know, unfortunately, they have to go on the road to play Tampa and New Orleans, so that's going to be tough. But, you know, definitely, you know, they get 2 games against the Seahawks. So it's a tough schedule, but it's a doable schedule in my mind. And I will say the tough schedule is one of the reasons. If you look at their over-under is 10.5. Now, the Rams, I actually forgot to mention this, but I did look it up. The Rams have the toughest schedule in the league. I forgot to mention that because I forgot it when I was talking about it, but they have the toughest schedule in the league according to all the metrics and everything. So even though they finished 12-5 last year, you know, they were projected 10.5 last year. They went over at 12-5, but That's the reason why their over-under is set at 10.5. You might think that's low, but it's because they have the toughest schedule in the league that their over-under is set so low. In my mind, I think they're going to go over it. Not by much. I think they get 11 wins, just because the schedule is like really tough. I think they get 11 or 12 wins. I do still think they win the NFC West. I don't think any of the other teams in the division are going to challenge them for that. But like I said, I don't think they're going to, they're not going to go off and have a 13-14 win season. Like, it's going to be tough, and they have a lot of tough games, but I think they're capable enough to do it, and I'm going to say they go over the 10.5. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already so you can stay up to date on all of our videos. Comment down below what you think. Do you think the Rams are going to go back and win the Super Bowl again? Do you think that, by some shocking instance they missed the playoffs this year? I mean, who knows what's going to happen? Weird things happen after you go to the Super Bowl. So let me know down in the comments below what you think. And until then, I will see you guys next time.